In this video, we're going to do a rear differential service to a GMC Savannah, same as the Express. We're going to change the fluid and the gasket, and I'll show you how to check the level of the fluid and then how to change it. If you have a 2006 and later, it takes 75 W90 full synthetic. If you have a 2002 through 2005, if you have a half ton or a 1500, it takes 7590 full synthetic. Or if you have a 2500 or 3500 between 02 and 05, then it takes 80 W90 GL5. And then if you have a 2001 and earlier, it takes 80 W90 GL5. So if you want to just check the level of your fluid, you take this plug out right here. And to do that, you kind of want to WD it first. And then you get a 3/8 drive, either socket extension or a ratchet or something, in this square hole. And then you take the plug out. You want to do this with the vehicle level. Mine is not, because I have it jacked up right now. But then you just kind of stick your finger in the hole. And if fluid is, like, you can touch fluid, then it's full. If you can stick your finger down a ways and not touch fluid, then it's low. And when you go to fill it back up, you pretty much, with the vehicle level, you fill it till fluid pretty much comes out of this hole. This is the level it needs to be at, about half full. Any more than that's too much, and any less is not enough. I can tell already that this one's full because I have the rear end jacked up and fluid is coming out. We're going to move on to removing the whole cover because we're replacing the fluid. So you got to take this cover off here to drain all the fluid. There's a bunch of bolts, 14 of them to be precise. That's why this axle is called a 14 bolt. These bolts are like really rusty, so I'm having to hammer my socket on there. They're 13 millimeter is the size. If you have to hammer your socket onto a bolt, and then you can't get the bolt off your socket, what you do is get like a punch or a screwdriver, and then when the bolt's stuck in there, you get it like this, and then you hold the socket and then bang it against the ground till it knocks the bolt off the socket. Now if this axle hasn't been opened up before, then the cover should come off pretty easily. A lot of people will put a ton of silicone on them, so sometimes you gotta like pry, you know. But this is the messy part here. You want to have a pan under it, and then get something kind of flat. Just kind of tap it in there, like a flat screwdriver or a pry bar. Just kind of pry the cover away. Then all the fluid will come out. Should only be a couple quarts. Differential fluid stinks. It's not the worst smelling automotive fluid there is, but the next step is to clean all of this out, kind of wipe it out with the towel. A little bit of brake cleaner, but you want to keep it away from up here. There's bearings in here. You don't want to like totally hose those with brake clean, but just kind of clean out the inside, and then we're going to scrape the gasket surface here. This also has a magnet in it, just like the transmission on the bottom here. You want to just kind of wipe that clean as well. Make sure you don't leave chunks of towel in there, you know. But just kind of wipe up what you can. And you notice I just sprayed at the bottom. I didn't spray up inside the gears or anything. You just want to clean the bottom of it. So if you look in here, this is called the ring gear, and then these are called, well, they call them the spider gears. This is an open differential. So what that means is, like when you are going around a curve or you're turning a corner, one wheel has to turn faster than the other. So when you turn the wheels, they can turn separately of each other. If you hear people refer to like a locker, that basically locks both wheels so they can't turn separately. Or if you have a limited slip, it means there's like clutches in there, like a friction between the two wheels, and that gives you better traction. Because if one wheel loses traction, like it's icy or snowy, then only one wheel's going to turn or spin, you know. And if you're unsure of your gear ratio in your rear end, what you can do is take like a paint marker and paint one of these teeth on the ring gear, and then you count the teeth all the way around the gear. And then you do the same with the pinion gear. which I don't know if we'll even be able to. There's the pinion. And that's what the drive shaft turns, that pinion gear. So if you count the teeth on the ring gear, and then you count the teeth on the pinion gear, and then you divide the two, you end up with the ratio, which is, it's going to be like this axle, for example, is 3.43, and that's your gear ratio. So if you have like a higher number, like 4.11, for example, or 3.73, the higher number actually means you have lower gears. So there's more of a mechanical advantage to the rear end. So what that means is your drive shaft spins faster, but your tires spin slower, and that gives you more torque. If you have a lower number, like 2.73, for example, then your drive shaft turns slower and your wheels turn faster and you have less torque, but then your vehicle speed, your overall top speed of your vehicle is higher. So they call that like a highway gear. And if you have a higher number and a taller gear, or a lower gear, shorter gear, it's confusing. So the higher the number, the shorter the gear, the slower your vehicle is, but the more torque you have. Basically, that's what that means. And the ratio, so 3.43, means that the drive shaft turns 3.43 times for every time that the wheel turns one time. If that makes any sense at all. I did a terrible job explaining that, but that's basically how gear ratios work. But this is a 343 open diff, and it's a 14 bolt, 1 ton rear axle. It's basically what we got here. I bought a differential cover and a gasket. They're the wrong one. So we're going to reuse this. I'm going to clean it up real good, and then I'm going to have to install it with silicone, which is okay. It is what it is. Basically, you just clean this up with brake cleaner, carb cleaner, whatever, and a rag. And then for the gasket material, you want to scrape that off. This is a gasket scraper. You can use pretty much any scraper you want, though, like a putty knife. Just try not to gouge, you know. But I'm going to get the bulk of this off and then clean it with this wire brush real good. Most of it's stuck to the axle, not the cover. You want to make sure you get any chunks that drop in there out before you put it all together, you know. I'm not using a wire wheel for this because I don't want all of that debris in the axle, you know. I'm gonna take a good look in here and make sure that there's no chunks of gasket stuck in it. Seems alright. I've actually got some new bolts because the old ones were pretty rough. I actually ordered a whole new differential cover and gasket, but I got the wrong one. You need to really look at what you got. There's several different options if you go to the parts store and you look up just the gasket and everything. So this is a 14-volt semi-floater with a like 9.5 inch ring gear or something. If you have this exact same axle, then that's your gasket. That's the part number from Felpro. But since I got the wrong cover, I took my old one and I spent lots of time cleaning it up and painting it and stuff. Now, because it's kind of rusty and rough, I am using a new gasket, but I'm also going to put some RTV on it. Just a little bit on both sides of the gasket. That's just going to guarantee I don't have any leaks, you know. You can actually just use RTV, but you know, that's not, it's kind of frowned upon, you know. But either way, what we're gonna do here is just start up top actually. I'm just putting a little bit. They used to make one that was called Mega Blue. It was actually made for this. I'm sure they still make it, but not where I was earlier today. And I'm not even going to spread the RTV out, I'm just going to stick it on. Figure out exactly which way this gasket goes here. It's a pretty weird shape. I think that's right. Yeah, that's a weird shape for a... It's weird that it's like thin there and thick there. And I wonder if I got it backwards. I bet I do. Yeah, no. That's right. And now I'm going to put a little on the pan or cover. Maybe I should grab a bolt, huh? I did go in and inspect with the flashlight to make sure I didn't have any chunks of the old gasket stuck in there. You want to kind of... I'm not going to be doing this again for a long time. Especially with gear oil being as expensive as it is. I don't think this has ever been done. This van's 14 years old and has 125,000 miles on it. I don't know if I'm ever gonna do it again. I think you can get an entire axle assembly for like a few $100, so if I had problems with this someday, that's probably what I would do, honestly. This thing is pretty rusty, honestly. It's seen better days, you know. But this is a heavy-duty axle. I don't expect to have any issues with it, like, ever. Oh, you know what? I forgot there's a bracket here. And that is for the parking brake cable. I'm not torquing them, I'm just running them down. And then we're going to go back with the actual ratchet. And we'll use this to get an even torque. Alright, so to fill it, you basically pour it in this plug here, right here, till it leaks out the hole. You want the oil level up to here, and that's full. It's like an oil pan in your engine. And as the gears are sloshing around, they're dipping in that fluid and slinging it around and lubricating everything. I should have bought, because for like $2 more, you can get, Valvoline makes one of these in a pouch, so you can just kind of squeeze it in there and not have to like actually try and tip the bottle, but I didn't. So this might get a little messy, but, and I'm hoping 2 is enough, but it probably ain't. Basically, and you can do creative things to, like you can get a pump and pump it into there and stuff, or I could put a hose on this, which actually might be a good idea. Alright, so here I just have a piece of vinyl tubing. Stick it over the end of the bottle. And then I can do something like this. Make less of a mess. Then I can pretty much do what the Valvoline does and just squeeze it in there. See how clear and clean this fluid is compared to the crap that came out? And that's kind of the whole point of doing this. The fluid breaks down over time, just like any other fluid. It deteriorates and loses its lubricating properties, you know. It's the whole point of changing your fluids. And this van was a U-Haul. It's done a lot of towing. It's beat up. So, you know, giving it all the love I can here before I put another 100,000 miles on it. Okay. I have the van level, by the way. It's not jacked up anymore. You want the vehicle level. Well, shoot. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm gonna have to buy a third quart. That sucks. 17 bucks a pop on these, so I guess it takes 3. Oh well, this is a big axle. If you have a half ton, it's with the 10 bolt, probably not the case, but oh well. Running to O'Reilly. Alright, quart number 3. Oh no. Ah! Oh, stop. What you don't want to do is have your piece of tubing come off and spill all over the floor. I think we're finally getting there. I hope. I ain't buying a 4th one. That's just way too much money. Yeah. Yeah, it takes 3 quarts. Oh yeah, we're full. Whew. 3 quarts to do this. when I was cleaning the cover, I noted that the part that this plug threads into is just like spot welded, tack welded onto the cover, and there's no seal. It's not fully welded. So it relies on this nylon washer, and it was wrapped with Teflon tape, I noticed. Some thread sealant tape. And I could get away with reusing this nylon washer, but it's split and it's beat up. So what I'm gonna do is wrap the threads with Teflon tape, and then I'm gonna put a little bit of black silicone around the outer edge of it. And that's how I'm gonna seal up the plug, and that should work perfect and last a long time. So in summary, this job will cost about 70 bucks to do it yourself if you buy a gasket too, because it takes 3 quarts of differential fluid. I bought it from O'Reilly, but Walmart, you know, you might get away with a couple bucks cheaper than that. And the gasket was about 9 bucks. I replaced my bolts. You don't need to do that, but mine were like in bad shape, so. And I wanted to replace the whole cover. I actually bought one, like I said, but I got the wrong one. So, like, maybe take a picture of it before you go shopping for a gasket and a cover. Alright, you see I got silicone on the outside of it and Teflon on the threads, and that will work just fine. After I thread it in a little bit, I'm going to kind of wipe where the fluid was coming out, just to help the silicone stick. And I tightened it just enough where future me will be able to get it back off. Here's another thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take a paint marker and write the type of fluid and the mileage of the van currently right on here. So I can just look at it and remember when I change the fluid, and then I'll know if I need to do it again or should do it again. But I don't intend on doing this again for probably 5 years. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If you want to change the rear axle fluid in your Chevy Express or GMC Savannah, something that should definitely be done at least once if you buy a used van like this, and that way you just have peace of mind to know that you got a solid fresh start with your rear gear oil. You know, if you just never change that, who knows, it could be empty, it could have leaked out, and then you'll have be replacing a whole axle. So thanks a lot, stay tuned for the next one, and check out the how to work on a Chevy van playlist on my channel. I got several videos like this. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.